Welcome to the Kate Molland channel. My podcast is now in progress. Let's tune in. Hi, Jason. Welcome back to the podcast.
I have heard that there are so many videos out there now that are encouraging women to go to Home Depot to find husbands. What's your take on that? Do you think women can go to a place like Home Depot and find true love? What are your thoughts?
Oh, Jason, I have gone to Home Depot and some of these other hardware stores a lot in the last, significant amount of years. And I have some stories, but I don't see it as being a resource for finding a date.
I get the fact that you are into home improvement. So I would imagine you've been going to Home Depot. What are some of the other stores that compete with Home Depot? There's Lowe's. What else?
But, Home Depot and Lowe's are really like the kind of the gold standard. Everybody knows who they are, and they're frequent across the country.
But you have been shopping for building materials for years as a DIY coach. So you spend a lot of time at Lowe's, Home Depot. What has been your experience? I mean, as a shopper and as a female, did you find that men would speak to you, try to pick you up, try to get to know you, try to ask you for your number? What has been your experience, say, in the last 10 years?
So, yes, I do go to these supply stores a lot to buy materials for projects. And I find that mostly the men who do approach me in the store are trying to get me to hire them to do the work. And then when I explain to them that, oh no, I'm buying the product for a project that I'm doing myself, they get really disappointed, like I'm taking work away from them.
So in other words, men will give you their number, but they want money.
They want me to pay them for their services. Yeah, they want employment.
Oh, so here's my card, young lady. Call me if you need me to build, that deck for you, or call me if you need me to install this or that. So they're looking for work.
They're looking for work. So these are contractors that have licenses that are looking for me to hire them to do things that I'm actually at Home Depot to buy the supplies to do myself or to do with another person or a project with a client.
Now, that would sound rather disappointing to me. I would imagine a lot of girls who are seriously looking for a husband or a boyfriend, and they decide to go to these lumber supply places, and they meet men, but the men are saying, no, I'm not here to date you. I'm not here to go to a happy hour. I'm here for you to hire me, and you're not going to hire me, so conversation terminated.
Well, I feel that you could probably find love with a contractor. But the thing is that a lot of these women who are going to Home Depot, I suspect they're not necessarily homeowners. They're renters. And there's only so much you can do in a rental property before the landlord gets upset.
Okay. So if they're renters, all right, are you saying that they could still go there to meet a contractor and say, hey, look, I don't want any of your contracting services. I'm looking for a date. And you think they have a shot?
I don't think they necessarily have a shot in that capacity. I think, it's kind of like if you hired a contractor to build something for you, maybe you can create a rapport over that building process or over that project. And then maybe the sparks will fly. But I don't think that going to Home Depot thinking that if I walk down the tile aisle with no intention to buy anything, but looking helpless and hoping that somebody strikes up a conversation with me, I find that to be living kind of in fantasy land and slightly delusional.
So for the most part, would you say going to Home Depot or Lowe's looking for a husband might be a waste of time?
I would find it to not be advantageous. I mean, there's a lot to learn in these stores. I love looking at appliances. But the thing is that I don't, if that's the goal is I'm going to find me a husband at Home Depot, I don't necessarily see that happening.
Okay, with all that in mind, what you just said, I want to just put some stats out.
Okay.
Now, the stats are, according to Pew's research, let's just say that there's 100 men inside Home Depot. Out of those 100 men, 50 would be married, according to the stats. So that leaves the remaining 50. Of that 50, you have 25 and 25. So let's just take 25 or 25% of those men are there looking for girls, no pun intended, to nail them. Meaning they may not necessarily be interested in a relationship, but they may be interested in laying some pipe. or screw driving or something along
All these innuendos.
yes, something along that line, but they're not really interested in a relationship. Now, the remaining 25, those men don't know what they want. Now, here's where I have some proof on that. There was a journalist who had gone into Home Depot. She went in there with kind of a sense of humor and a microphone, and she would just walk right up to men and say, "Excuse me, do you believe in love at first sight?" And the guy's response was, "Huh?" And she said, "Well, let me walk past you again and tell me if you feel something." So she walks past him again and says, "Well, do you feel something?" And he went, "Huh?" And she said, "Never mind. Never mind." So she goes up to another guy and says, "Excuse me, sir, what advice could you give me if I'm looking for love or if I'm looking to get married?" And the guy responded, "I don't know." And she said, "You mean to tell me, like, you're here at Home Depot. I was told by videos on TikTok and YouTube to come here to look for a man. You are a man. I'm a woman. What advice can you give me?" And the guy said, "I don't know." And she said, "Could you please leave the store? Could you please leave this?" He said, "No, I'm still shopping." She said, "Well, then go back to shopping." And she goes like, "What a waste of time." And so then she goes to another guy and she says, "Excuse me, sir, can I have a word with you?" And he said, "No." And she said, "Why not?" He says, "Because you're trying to sell me something. What are you selling? Satellite? What are you selling? Cable TV?" She said, "No, I just want to talk to you about love." And the guy ran. The guy,
Oh,
I mean,
gosh.
so it was just one fracaso, one failure attempt after another. So she goes over to an employee and says, "Excuse me, sir, I'm here to pick up a man. The videos told me to come here. I'm here. And why is it every guy that I speak to or try to approach, why do they all run from me?" And his response is, "Because they are afraid of you." And she said, "They're afraid of me, a pretty girl?" And he says, "Yes, and I'm afraid of you too." And he ran.
Oh, gosh.
So there you have it, you know. And so she just said, "Well, if you ladies want to come down here and if you think you can do better than me, come on down." Well, let me ask you this. Why do you think a rumor like that got started?
About Home Depot dating?
Yeah, why did that get started if there's no evidence to support the reality of going to Home Depot or Lowe's and picking up a guy or marrying a guy? Why is there is absolutely no evidence to support that? Why do women still go there?
I think maybe Home Depot is the last frontier for a lot of these women where they thought they would have like a meet cute in a grocery store or a meet cute at the gas station. And, you know, typically when I go to Home Depot, I do see a lot of men. And, you know, I don't know the relationship status of all of these people that are in Home Depot. But I can presume that they're mostly homeowners, or they like either they own their property or they own other properties that they, you know, lease out. But I digress. I feel that Home Depot is the last frontier for a lot of women who maybe are single. And so they've never been there. They didn't see that there was an inventory of men, even though they're not on the shelf for purchase. They're wandering the aisles. And I've had guys try to pick up on me at Home Depot. But usually they worked there and they were like, I was seeing them a lot because I was at one of these big box stores and I was going to the lumber aisle like every weekend for 3 or 4 weeks in a row because I was picking up materials for a project. And this gentleman who worked at this store, like he kept recognizing me and he would like make contact and chit chat. And eventually though, like I got to be uncomfortable because I wasn't there to chit chat. I was there to get my building materials, load my car, get out, get to the project site and get things in motion. And so it just he wasn't becoming helpful anymore. He was becoming a hindrance. But you know, I'm intense. I'm there to buy things. I'm there to figure out my problems and create solutions for the project I'm working on. And so I'm not necessarily the person to try to have a meet cute with if I'm deep in thought with a lumber list.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I totally get that. But let me ask you this. Do you think Home Depot ought to look into having a happy hour there? Maybe take out a section of the store and say, you know, there's been so much talk on the different platforms and so many influencers are saying you can go to Home Depot, you can go to Lowe's and meet a guy. Do you think that they should just set up maybe a corner where they can say, we're going to have a happy hour here, no alcoholic beverages, but maybe some appetizers, maybe some soft drinks. So all of you that believe that, you girls can just go hang out over here. And then all of you guys that are coming to our location to buy things or to browse, stop by the happy hour and see if there's a woman that would interest you. Do you think there's something in that?